Hello, it's October 23rd. Everything is really weird. And if it's Friday, then this is the Delve. Welcome back to the Delve. Things are weird. We don't have a guest, and we're trying out a new thing. And we're rotating through our team where we have them be co-hosts for the week. And this week we have Hayden from marketing.
Hey everyone.
Hayden, how's it going?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, great. I'm really excited to have you on here. We are going to try to get through these really, really important topics. So for this episode, we're going to talk about court packing a little bit. We're also going to discuss voter turnout so far and the early voting, which has been incredible.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the early voting, which has been fantastic so far. We're also going to talk about how voting is compared to other countries around the world, which is going to be really, really interesting. And then finally, we're going to try to go over the protests that are happening in Nigeria right now that are so serious against police brutality and the response from the Nigerian government. But first, we begin with court packing.
Yeah.
Republicans are rushing through this Supreme Court nomination during an election year. Folks didn't want to do it during Obama's last year. During election year, Trump has this election year vacancy, but everyone's okay with it now.
Yeah.
Democrats are saying, hey, you guys do this. We're out for court packing. And I feel like that's like a thing we haven't heard ever before. So I want to tell people kind of what it is, I guess.
Yeah, it's honest. It's really weird. Once I kind of read more about it, it really struck me as one of the most hypocritical things in modern politics, at least in my opinion. Like how in 2016, Mitch McConnell was so adamant that no, if it's an election year,
yeah,
then there's no way we can push through another Supreme Court nominee.
10 months away from election day.
Yeah, and they're just blatantly doing the opposite.
This is warp speed getting this lady confirmed.
They're but what about 2016? Why is it different now? And they're
yeah.
Oh, well, because it's different now. So so everything changed. You're
yeah.
Okay.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
So Democrats are floating the idea of having or adding more justices to the court, which is also known as court packing. So that just means right now there are 9 justices on the Supreme Court. The Constitution doesn't specify how many justices have to be on the court. So Congress can change the number from 9 to 3 to whatever. And if the president signs it, then he has to fill those seats. So that's kind of interesting. I was saying, I think this is kind of a new thing. I don't know if anyone's ever mentioned this in recent modern history of packing the courts.
Yeah, what's weird to me is from listening to how Trump talks about court packing and how obviously poorly he thinks of it. In the debates, he was oh, they want to pack the courts. This is absolutely crazy. It's not that crazy of an idea. It's happened before. I wonder if packing the courts has been looked down upon by Republicans in the past too, or if that's kind of a new thing, because presidents have done it in the past. But now that Biden says yeah, maybe it's a possibility, Trump's oh, it's so crazy, so radical to add more justices to the court.
This is a great way to segue into the history of the Supreme Court. So the first Supreme Court back in 1787, or actually back in 1789, the Supreme Court was established with the Judiciary Act. And on the first Supreme Court, George Washington was able to nominate 6 judges. So back in the day, yeah, just 6 judges. It had always been up to Congress to kind of decide how many members or how many justices there would be. During the administration of the 18th president, Ulysses S. Grant, I can't speak today, guys, I'm so sorry. He upped the number of justices to 9. Congress passed an act, April 10th, 1869, to amend the judicial system. And so it went from 6 to 9. It's been that number since 1869. Very, 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 very long time, which is cool. Like, that's great. But like everything else in this country, things change, things, evolve. We are a much bigger country from 1789. We are a much bigger country from 1869.
Exactly. Yeah.
We are not, back in George Washington, there were like 13 states. We're now 50. I think there was, a few million people, and we're now 330 million people.
Yeah.
So
it's a very slight difference. But
yeah, slightly different. So maybe it might make sense to, kind of like change the court. I don't know how often that we should have this change. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Hayden?
like the way I see it, I think like why not add more justices to the court? Like in the same way in statistics, like a larger sample size is gonna portray the the overall population better. I think that having more judges, not like a ton, but just like adding a few more, like the more the better, because it adds more opinions as long as all the judges are qualified.
So what's like a good number? If 9 is too small, what is?
I mean, that's tough.
Do we want like 10? Do we want 15? Do we want 20? What is the number?
Well, I guess we have to keep it odd.
Right.
But I feel like anywhere.
That's what I was wondering. Like, when George Washington just started off with 6, like, what if they were a tie?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what if he just picked all his like friends? So it's like what, 6-0?
Yeah.
Every decision.
Realistically, like that's probably is what happened.
Yeah, that's like a really interesting. We should actually do a special edition on George Washington Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, what's a good number? What's a good number? Like what? I don't know, because you feel like I mean I can imagine right now like Democrats are like, yes, we should increase the number of Supreme Court justices, and Republicans lose their mind.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is horrible. Why would you do this? You cannot do this. This is so horrible. And so Democrats are like, all right, we're just gonna like add 2 like seats.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's 11 judges. That's too many.
And they sound exactly like that.
Yeah. Like, Mitch McConnell, you can't add 2 more judges to the Supreme Court. We've had that number since 1870.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to our listeners for my Mitch McConnell rendition. But yeah, I mean, like, what's a good number?
I'd say like anywhere between maybe like 13 to 17, I think might be like a sweet spot. Not too big, but
honestly, like, I feel like that's a lot of people.
Oh, it definitely is. Maybe not like this year, but like in the future, maybe like add on like, a couple every term, and then
what if they change it during Joe Biden's, first term? It's at 9, and then like Congress is like, okay, yeah, you can now add no, and the new total is 15. And now he has 6 people. That's going to be insane. That's insane for him to add 6 people to the Supreme Court. Do they come in waves, or can he just be like, and these are my 6?
Yeah. And then just all Biden's friends.
Yeah, it's all his friends, like Obama, Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Just like his buddies.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to be a judge?
Yeah. I mean, let's be real, that's kind of what Trump did for like everyone he hired.
No, actually, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but I think this is a really great way for us to segue into kind of like the history of, has this ever even come up before? And yes, it has. It came up in 1937. FDR was trying to push through the New Deal, and the Supreme Court kept just blocking every provision in this plan. And so he was like, oh crap, I have an idea. I'm just going to add new judges to the Supreme Court so I can get my New Deal passed. And he released this plan to add new justices, up to 15 justices. So he went to add a new judge for every judge who had been on the court for at least 10 years and was turning 70 or over 70, and they would not retire. Unfortunately, the plan did. I don't even know if that's unfortunately, but the plan didn't go through. Planning, and Congress never passed it. And one of the reasons it didn't pass was because people were like, no, this is like really, really political and partisan, and don't do that. So yeah, it didn't pass, and the number stayed at 9. And I feel like I can imagine that same thing kind of happening this time around.
Yeah, like maybe expanding it from let's say 9 to 15 is just too much for one president.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, like that's probably why a lot of Republicans are pushing back on it, is because they're like, all right, well, if you're expanding the court, then that gives a ton of power to Biden, which we don't want.
Like, they can go crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
6 judges go into a group of 9. Like, imagine like you're at a lunch table and there's 9 of you, and then 6 random people come.
you're like, oh, sorry, kind of a private party.
Like, yeah, and it's like, well, no, this is our party. We just got nominated by the president, so
it's like, sorry, you can't sit here. Sorry.
Now our table. It's like that's going to be really, really crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the magic number is. I think I like what you said. Like, it should be odd so that there can be a deal breaker. Is that what I should say? A deal breaker, so that there could be like a person who's like breaks the tie. A tiebreaker, not a deal breaker. Sorry, a tiebreaker.
There we go.
This is my silliest episode yet. So we need a tiebreaker. But yeah, I don't know. Anywho, let's listen to what the vice president said about this. What has Biden said?
Let's take a listen.
You said so many times during the campaign, all through the course of your career, it's important to level with
It
the
is, but
American
George,
people.
if I say, no matter what answer I gave you, if I say it, that's the headline tomorrow. It won't be about what's going on now, the improper way they're proceeding.
But don't voters have a right to know where you stand?
They do have a right to know where they stand, and they'll have a right to know where I stand before they vote.
So you'll come out with a clear position before Election Day?
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, one, it's not like it's not a president thing. Like, he can't say, guys, I'm expanding the court. It's actually going to be something from Congress. They would have to pass a law to expand the court. So even if he was like, no, meh, and then like Congress passes a law and it's like, yeah, no, you can expand the court.
Yeah, it's not really his decision to begin with.
One, it's not his decision. And 2, he's not going to be like, no, actually, no, let's keep it at, like, no, he's going to take that deal and run with it. Are you kidding? Like, he would take that. What president wouldn't take that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, here, you can add 6 justices to the Supreme Court. He's not going to be like, yeah, no. No, he's going to take it. He's going to run with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if he needs to really, like, answer that question.
Yeah.
Let him win first. Let's get the election done. Then we can talk about, like, things he want to do on, like, this dramatic of a scale. I mean, I don't know. As a voter, do I, like, really, really care, like, what?
I mean, I guess I kind of do. Like,
I mean, I guess, but
I guess it's kind of like the same situation with Amy Coney Barrett, where she's dodging all these questions in her hearings.
Well, that I feel like is a little bit crazy because, like, she's going to be on there for life.
Yeah.
She's 48.
Yeah.
Like, homegirl could be there for like 40 years.
Yeah.
I really want to know where she sits on things. Like,
but then I guess if Biden's gonna elect or appoint 6 more justices, you kind of want to know.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, sorry, I guess that's true too. Yeah, he can appoint, like, they're all like 30-year-olds. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
They're there for life.
Oh,
and they're just like, I don't know, I need to tweet about it. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, fair point. I don't know. I feel like we should have the election first.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Let's have the election, and then he could say, like, if he wins or whatever, then he can tell Congress, like, guys, this isn't like a top priority for me. Like, let's focus on other things. And maybe it goes nowhere. Like, bring it up now is kind of like a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Like what he said. He was like, yeah, it's important, but it's not what we need to be talking about right now. Like, I don't want that to be the headline. Well, let's focus on what's happening now in the election first.
Exactly. And funny enough, that's what Kamala was saying in this interview with Don Lemon. Let's take a listen.
I think that Joe Biden has been consistent about saying that this is not the time right now to have this discussion. And frankly, to be honest with you, Don, and just to be very straightforward, if we're going to talk about court packing, which is something that all of a sudden has become a big point of discussion, I think, because our
The only reason
opponents
I bring
are
it
trying
up
to
is
create
just
a
because
distraction.
I actually
But-
think it is a distraction, and I just wanted to get you on the
Yeah.
record. So, because maybe if you guys answer it, you'll get it behind you, and it doesn't become her emails. And that's up to the media too to not make
But
it her
I'm not,
emails.
and not fall into the trap, because look, if we want to, seriously, if we want to talk about court packing, can we please talk about, and I've witnessed this firsthand on the Senate Judiciary Committee, they've been one after another nominating people who are unqualified, people who refuse to say that Brown versus Board of Education is precedent. Do you know that they put 50 people on the lifetime federal court of appeal, and not one is black? I mean, I'm sorry, but I can't have a conversation about court packing around something that has not even happened yet, which is who is going to be the next president, without dealing with what they've been doing for the last few years.
I kind of agree with her.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, we should talk about it. And maybe the people could talk about it, but this is like a presidential candidate, and you really need to come up with his hard decision on how maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why people are frustrated by it, definitely. But like Kamala and Biden both definitely have a point. Like, it's not worth taking the media's attention right now.
Okay, but wait, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this one?
Give me a sec. Yeah, I'm ready. What's up? Just had to prepare myself. Go for it.
Trump has a majority in Congress, and they're asking him, "Do you support court packing?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about it." That sounds frightening.
Yeah.
And just like that, things got real really fast.
Yep.
And you're like, "Oh no, I want to know." I really need to know how you feel about court packing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, let's win first. Like, just chill out, watch and see.
The game of politics. I'll tell you once you elect me.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Like, just stand by.
Yeah.
What did he say? Stand back and stand by.
Oh my God.
Like,
This becomes his catchphrase for everything.
yeah, it's just like everything. So Trump, where do you send us? Oh no, just stand back, stand by. Like,
Yeah.
like, I'll let you know. Yeah, no, I feel like if the president, well, because he's terrifying. So yeah, I would want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know. Yeah, I want to know his thoughts on something like that. So I suppose Republicans, and I suppose some non-journalists, do have a point in asking
Yeah.
Joe Biden and Kamala how they feel about this.
Yes, everyone has a point. No.
Yeah.
Meat is full of smart people.
I mean, I don't know, but I literally feel like if it was like the other, shoes on the other foot, I'd be like, no, like,
Yeah.
really, really need to know this information. Like, you want to pack 6 of your homies on this court? Like, that's not okay. Like, we really need to know this.
Yeah. Not trying to get like 6 more Kavanaughs.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I want to hear Biden's answer for that reason.
Yeah.
I know Republicans definitely do, because they're scared of Biden the same way Democrats are scared of Trump, to an extent.
Right.
But like, I also definitely get why Biden isn't answering at the same time, because he's trying to get some of the Republican vote that realizes Trump's out of his mind, and those Republicans also might feel differently about court packing than Democrats, and they might not want to pack the court.
I don't want to really dive into this, because this episode's not about this, but I literally feel like the American people have a lot less to fear from like a Biden justice
Oh yeah.
than like a Trump justice.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Like Biden justice, and like, oh yeah, we have like greater voting rights. We have like
Yeah.
greater access to like reproductive health care. We have greater, like, that's a Biden justice.
Yeah.
A Trump justice is like, no, let's shut down voting like poll locations. Let's stop counting your ballots. Like, let's close down hospitals. Let's take people off of their health insurance.
Oh, all just very,
Yeah.
standard stuff.
Yeah, standard conservative Republican stuff. Yeah, don't want to get into that, but literally, I think it's something to say on the record.
Yeah.
The American people have a lot more to fear.
Yeah, we want to talk about it, but just so you know, it's crazy.
Just so you know, yeah, it's just bat crap crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess like this is a great place to bring up what's happening as far as like voting. People are voting in droves. People are voting like their lives depend on it.
Yeah.
Because it does.
Oh, yeah.
Because things could get really real if Trump's reelected.
Definitely.
I mean, things get real if Biden's elected too, but like things real in the better way.
Yeah.
Yeah. 35 million people already casting their vote. Insane. Crazy numbers.
Yeah. I honestly didn't expect it to be that high.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy.
Pleasantly surprised.
complaining.
To say the least. Yeah.
We need more people to vote.
Yeah.
America, that number should be 40 million.
Yeah. It's about time we had some better turnouts.
Yeah. Insane. So of the 35 million votes that have been cast, 53% of those are from Democrats, which is awesome. Republicans have cast 39% of those. Okay, that's cool. And then like the rest are independents and other.
That's the concerning part.
Yeah. Another thing is, I feel like there's like a huge chunk. I mean, maybe not a huge chunk, but there's a chunk of Republican voters that are voting for Biden.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So, yeah, the 53% going for Biden, cool. Of the 39%, how much do you think is going for Biden?
Tough to say. Maybe like.
I mean, let's not go crazy.
Yeah. If I had to estimate, I bet like 10% of Republicans are voting for Biden.
I think that's going crazy.
Well, that's crazy. 5?
Yeah, I think that's going crazy. I would say 3 to 5%.
All right. I'll take it.
Which is still incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If 10% of all Republican voters voted for Biden, Trump would lose like God, what a glorious day that would be. Yeah, no, and I think like a lot of folks keep saying like we're not going to have any results the night of election day. I don't know. I think we might.
I think that we'll have
an idea.
Yeah, we'll have an idea. Whether or not that idea is like accurate,
yeah,
it might be kind of scary because we'll see something on election.
Well, if the idea is not accurate, then we won't. Then that's like not an idea.
But the thing,
no, I think we'll know. I mean, like we only need to know like 5 states, 6 states. We need to know like where 6 states are going.
That's true.
You know, where's Ohio going? Where's Florida going? Where's Pennsylvania going? Michigan, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You know, one other.
Yeah.
You know, where's Georgia going? You know, we kind of like get those states down. North Carolina. Yeah, we kind of know where this is going.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the reason I say like even if we have an idea, we might not really know is because since the early voting is skewed Democrat a little bit, it's not really proportional to what it'll be on election day. Like, you know, on election day, election night, we'll see results. And then, you know, let's say like 90% of the ballots are counted, but that 10% might not be an even split between Democrats and Republicans. So like we might have an idea and it looks like it's going to go Republican, but actually, you know, 7% out of the last 10% of the ballots being counted were Democrat because they're all early voting or something.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's going to be hard to say.
A really interesting thing, and I'm just throwing this out there, is that we're having greater voter turnout. So compared to the last election in 2016, when Trump is winning by like the slimmest of margins, like, you know, under 1%, and like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Florida. Imagine if like this like surge of voting, these early voters are like people who didn't vote. And I mean, maybe, you know, probably the vast majority of them did, but maybe like a few 10 million of them didn't vote in 2016. They're like, oh, wait, I can vote from home?
Yeah. That'd be huge.
And I can just like request a ballot to my home and mail it back. That's how easy voting is. So imagine like we get like this surge of like 10 million extra voters. Like Trump's going to get wiped out.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'd love to see that.
Crazy. Early voting so far in 2020, it's already 67% of 2016's numbers of early voting ballots. We have a week and a half to go. I think we're going to by far surpass that.
Oh, definitely.
6 times as many African American voters have cast ballots in this early election and early voting compared to 2016 early voting. Crazy.
Yeah. I think that's like the biggest thing for me that gives me hope, is that
one of the huge takeaways from 2016 is that voter turnout in the Black community was low. I think like we all just thought it was just such a far out of reach idea that Trump would be president. So people were like, Hillary's got it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't really need to vote. We know like she's going to win.
Yeah.
And we got every poll in our face, like across the news. Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people, you know, were just like, okay, I guess she's going to win. I don't really need to like go vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have these 4 years of like this guy. It's crazy. People are now calling him the crazy uncle. 4 years of crazy uncle.
I like that.
Running the country. And, you know, kids are in cages.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's like, you know, selling access to himself, selling policy, supporting like white supremacists. Like, you know, you get 4 years of this and you're like, okay, like, I don't care what the polls are saying about Biden.
Let's just be safe. Yeah.
Take my ballot. Take this ballot.
Yeah.
Please.
I think that's definitely like a big thing people realized is, you know, like don't count your eggs before they hatch. Like everyone thought Hillary was going to win last election. So yeah, they kind of just said
2016. Yeah. And it's crazy because, you know, there's been like this phrase that goes around, elections have consequences. Yeah. and boy, oh boy, do we know.
Boy, oh boy, that's an understatement.
That is the understatement of the 21st century.
Yeah, consequences, putting it lightly.
Yeah. Elections have consequences. Crazy. Battleground states, what's happening? What's going on?
So already in battleground states, 15 million people have voted, which is huge. And in Florida especially, there's been a significant boost in the younger voter turnout, which we love to see.
Love to see that.
Yeah. So I think people are realizing in swing states, their voice really counts. Especially, I feel like the younger generation is becoming more and more politically active too. So I think there's this movement happening where new young voters are registering and coming out to vote. You know, the blue wave, the young Dem wave.
Yeah. And then I think there's been an uptick in youth engagement, especially since the Parkland shooting in Florida. That saw like just like a wave shift of youth activism. And there's been an uptick in voter registration for young folks in Florida. And the share of senior voters in Florida literally used to just be the mass majority of voters from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That's now dropped from 64% to only 52%.
Wow.
That's fantastic that, you know, other age demographics are now getting involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening in Nevada?
Yeah. All right. So Nevada.
What's happening in Nevada?
What's up, Nevada? How we doing?
How are you doing, Nevada?
So in Nevada right now, out of the early votes that have come in, 53% of the votes have been for Biden, while only 25 have been for Trump, which is, you know, really good for Democrats. You know, interesting thing, in 2016, Democrats only led by 15%, and this year it's 28. So that might also be due to, you know, the surge of new young voters, but it also kind of leaves us questioning, like, you know, last time I checked, 53 plus 25 is not
plus 25 is not 100.
Yeah, it's not even close, actually.
Yeah.
If my math is correct.
Where are those 20+% of voters going? I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, you're not.
But, you know, there's this guy, he's running. I don't know if you heard about him.
Yeah, you guys heard of Kanye?
Yeah, Mr. West.
Yeah, I'm, you know, scared to say that number could potentially be because of Kanye, but I don't know where else it would be going.
If 20% of Nevadan voters are going for Kanye West.
Oh, God.
I mean, hey, if he's taken, I mean, we try to be like not political. I guess, whatever. But if 20% are going for Kanye and it's taken away from Trump voters,
Yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah. Like, I mean, I thought
I guess I'm okay with that.
everyone's saying vote for Kanye is a vote for Trump, but I guess in this particular case, not to say you should vote for Kanye, don't vote for Kanye.
Yeah, I mean, like, if Biden's getting 53%, Trump's getting 25, Kanye's getting 20. Yeah, vote for Kanye. Like,
Yeah, Kanye's giving Trump a run for his money in Nevada.
which is incredibly funny.
Yeah, but also let's reiterate once again: do not vote for Kanye. Thank you.
Yes, do not vote for Kanye.
Yeah,
There are two possibilities for president here. Only two. There's no more than two.
well, Nevada looks like either Biden or Kanye.
Yes. Well, yeah.
But other than that, yeah, only two options there.
Still riding with Biden. I'm sorry.
Especially right now when it's so close.
Yeah.
You know, a vote for a Green Party or God forbid Kanye is just
The birthday party.
Not a smart move.
And for folks who don't know, the birthday party is Kanye West's political party that he created. I feel like people should know that. We should get them some context.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so we got Nevada down, we got Florida down, Arizona. Trump won the state by like 91,000 votes back in 2016. Very slim majority. Democrats got this uptick in voter registration in Arizona, and Biden's down favored in the polls, which is really, really great.
I'm loving this blue wave. All these
Loving the blue
new
wave.
Dem voters. It's awesome.
But we're not political here.
Oh,
We're-
no.
we're just
Not even a little.
We're just stating the facts from the polls. So, but vote for Biden. I mean, if not, then whatever. But you should. We have a scary thing here. There's an uptick in Republican voter registration in Florida, in North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, which is a little concerning. But still, in all three states, Democrats are in the lead, which is kind of awesome.
I don't know. The way I see it, like any new voter registration is a win. I think if more people are registered, that's really all we can ask for. Yeah. But I guess, speaking of new voter registration, so we did some research and found out some startling facts about the U.S. and how good we are at registering voters. Because
I don't know if this is like startling.
Speak for yourself. I'm pretty startled.
I think it's like, oh wow, other countries are doing that good. I don't think it's like, oh, we're doing that bad. No, like that's yeah, I got that. But I think it's more like, wow, other countries make life so much easier.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the part that was most interesting to me, I guess let me just like preface this by saying a lot of Americans think of the US as, like the strongest democracy.
Like the gold standard.
Exactly. The gold standard of democracy in the world. But we're just not. I mean, if you look at like numbers, so in 2016, the US had 55% of eligible voters come out and 87% of registered voters. And I'll get to that 87.
Meaning that 45% of Americans over 18 who are eligible to vote decide, I'm just going to sit this one out.
Exactly.
45% of all adults in America in 2016 sat that election out, did not vote.
Yeah. So I guess to like compare that to a few other countries, if you're thinking like, well, 55% isn't that high, but like all over the world, like voting just isn't that popular. And no. So in the last election, New Zealand had 76% of eligible voters turn out. In Belgium, it was 87%, Sweden, 83%, Canada, 62%, a little lower, but still higher than the US. Mexico was 66%. Here's the crazy thing. The UK and Canada, the UK had 91% of eligible voters come out, and Slovakia had 99%. So we're nowhere near the top.
Slovakia, hats off to you.
Yeah.
You guys are doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Slovakia does it a little differently because it's kind of like mandatory to vote, which I don't think the U.S. will do anytime soon.
Yeah.
But like all these other countries, Belgium, Sweden, Canada, New Zealand, the U.K., like these are all countries where voting is, of free will. And the way they do it is in some of these countries, they either automatically register you as a voter when you turn 18. So like when you're 18, you don't do anything. but you're just automatically registered to vote. So you can show up to a polling place in the next election if you're 18, and as long as like you have some form of ID, which they're also more lenient about in a lot of other countries, you can vote, and there's no like, you know, loops to jump through to register to vote like there is, or like there are in the US. And then other countries that don't automatically, or, you know, countries with higher voter turnout that don't automatically register you, they just like, they push new voter registration much harder on their people through the government. Like the government really, really makes an effort to register new voters, which we just don't see in the US. Like, why are we not doing this? So I think like a misconception in the US is that people just aren't that into voting who are eligible, who are registered, I mean. But so in the US, it was 55% of eligible voters came out in 2016, 87% of registered voters. So the people who are registered totally came out in good numbers. It's just that there are a lot of people not registered. So that's really our problem in the US, is that we have a registration problem, not a voting problem. Like, why does the US make it so hard for people to register?
I mean, I don't want to like go into like crazy math here, but let's just say half, a little more than half of Americans voted. And then a little like split, even like 50 to 50, you know, like 1% voted for one candidate, 48, 49 voted for one candidate. It's like 25% of Americans selected the president for 100% of us.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
And we're all affected. We're all dealing with Corona. We're all dealing with Supreme Court justices. We're all dealing with, you know, whatever. And literally not even 25%, because only 87% of registered voters. And it's scary. It's like we're now getting to like 22% of Americans decided for all of us. It's so important to vote. It's so important to be registered.
Yeah, exactly. We need to step up our registration game. Probably that starts with not, you know, getting people, or just telling people to register, but the US government.
You know where else you can start? Going to the delvepodcast.com. There's register to vote pop up. Register to vote. You know, a lot of states, Florida, for example, I think North Carolina has just stopped registration for voting for an election. That is, we can have a way, which is insane. But folks, please register to vote if you still can in your state. Vote early if you can in your state.
And more importantly, vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Because it does. Because it does. I just want to like lastly pivot here to kind of like a more international story that's popping up. The protests in Nigeria. It kind of like has a lot of echoes from the protests that we've been seeing here in the US against police brutality. And Nigerians were protesting against a specific branch of this government police force, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, also known as SARS. The group was originally formed to combat violent crime, and the officers, they're often in plain clothes and unmarked vehicles. And people have been protesting them for years. But these officers have been doing extrajudicial killings and actually robbing the folks that they're searching, and just going through like really folks have been going through really awful things. So the group was disbanded, and now the protests have kind of like grown from just protesting SARS to protesting corruption and protesting, you know, lack of like government intervention and lack of just like basic rights and services. And this week, the government sent in police to disband this police brutality protest.
The authorities disbanded the unit and also promised wider police reforms, but the protesters remained unsatisfied. They continued the protest, and the authorities are saying now that criminals have infiltrated the protest movement, causing mayhem. They attacked police stations, they killed police officers, and attacked 2 prisons as well, breaking them and freeing nearly 2,000 inmates on Monday. The violence continued on Tuesday and Wednesday, with the protesters allegedly infiltrated by criminals attacking a major television station, one of the main television stations in Nigeria, TVC, which is thought to be owned by a key figure in the ruling APC party in Lagos. The television is now off air. So the authorities are saying they're not going to condone breakdown of law and order, and President Muhammadu Buhari has appealed for calm, saying his commitment to police reforms should not be in doubt, and he said that the citizens should understand the government commitment in that regard. So the authorities appear so worried about the degenerating unrest across the country, but there is also concern that using force to end the unrest could lead to more violence.
The irony. And it has a lot of echoes from the protests that have been happening in the States, because folks in the States protesting police brutality. And what do we see? Police come in and brutally take down these protests. My heart goes out to protesters, because I feel like, that's obviously just like a human right, the right to assembly, the right to protest. And President Muhammadu Buhari sent in the police and the Nigerian military to disband this group of people. And we haven't heard anything from the president, our president, Trump, or the government at all. And it's funny because it's like, well, how can he say anything? And he's doing like the same things. He's using the same tactics, sending the military, National Guard, the police to crack down on protests. It's bizarre. Nigeria is a democracy. They have an elected president, an elected Congress. These are very much the tactics of a dictator, just like the president's tactics were very much of a dictator. Where does the US have like the moral authority to say, Nigeria, don't send in your troops and kill people?
I mean, like normally I feel like the US should have that authority to say, like, this is clearly wrong. Like, don't send in your troops to kill protesters. It's their right. But like right now, we're in no place to say that, or at least Trump is in no place to say that.
Because he's doing the same thing.
Exactly.
This is why you guys should vote. That 45% vote.
Yeah. If we had any other president, they all obviously condemned Trump, like sending in troops to these protests.
Yeah.
Or at least a lot of them did.
Like very easily would be able to say, hey guys, this is very wrong. Like everyone should, be allowed to peacefully protest. Sending your troops and killing people. Like not, breaking up the protests, that's one thing. Actually having folks die.
Yeah.
It's like barbaric. It's insane. And we don't have any leadership coming from the White House, kind of going against this.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if Trump said, don't send or, withdraw your troops that are killing protesters in Nigeria, because that's kind of his move.
Oh, Nigeria, our heart goes out to you. I'm actually sorry that we don't have leadership on this side of the Atlantic to help you guys out and stand up for you. And it's similar to like the protests in Belarus. They're protesting this president who's been in office for a billion years. And there's like these mass protests, tens of thousands of people. And he's just sending in folks to wipe them out. We have this vacuum of leadership in the world. Who else besides the US can say, no, if your people are protesting, hear them out, listen to them. People don't protest for jokes and hee hee ha ha. Like it's, usually if you're risking your life on the line, like your government's a dictatorship or they're going to have like brutal consequences. They're doing it because it's important. Their lives depend on it.
Yeah, I really feel like right now we should be able to do something, but we're kind of backwards from where the US usually stands. So I don't know what to do.
I know what you can do. You can vote.
Vote. Yep.
I think that's the episode.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of good stuff. And if there's one thing you take away, vote.
Vote.
That's it.
Vote.
Please register, vote early, vote on election day. Any way you can, vote.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next Friday. We're going to have another guest co-host. So this should be an interesting experiment that just continues on. Hayden, thanks so much for taking the time to do this with me. This was really fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it was a blast. So glad to co-host it with you.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. See you next Friday. And this is The Delve.